Hi, welcome to Katy on the Farm. I'm Katy. I'm a homesteader, a writer, and an advocate for ethical and local food. Join me as each week we explore food in our region from the soil to your plate here on Katy on the Farm. Hi, I'm Katy Rogers. Welcome to this episode of Katy on the Farm. Today we're not actually on the farm, as you can see, because we get to meet with Ancil Jacques of Swampy Appleseed Mushrooms. We're going to go foraging, and then we're going to get to see his new grow room. Oh, and here's Ancil now. Hey, Ancil.
Hey, Katy. How are you? I'm excited to see you out here.
Oh, me too. I'm so looking forward to this.
I'm looking forward to it too. It's perfect conditions for mushrooms today.
Wonderful, wonderful. And it's just beautiful. What a great way to spend your time, Ancil. Well, I can't wait to join you and to learn more about this.
Oh, we're going to see lots of them today. So if you're ready, we can go hunt some.
All right, let's get started.
All right, let's go for it.
So, Ancil, what are we out here to find today?
Well, you know, I forage year round, and it changes from season to season. It's kind of dwindling off, but the mushroom of the season is the chanterelle, and it is very high commercial value from farmers markets to chefs, just because it cannot be cultivated. You'd have to mimic an entire ecosystem. Okay. So for this particular mushroom, you have to forage it, but I think we're in luck because we know what we're doing.
Oh, wonderful. All right.
Step up in here.
When Michael Pollan wrote about it.
Michael Pollan, what was he writing about?
Well, he wrote about going out in California after a fire in the forest.
Oh, looking for burned morels.
Yes, and he talked about kind of having to get your eyes on to see them.
Yeah, there's a beautiful kind of pattern recognition that sinks in. You know, it's just like, once you get it, you see that mushrooms are everywhere. And you heard my little lecture at Way Green, but I mean, it's the second largest kingdom of Earth. And they're everywhere all the time, even if they're underground and you can't see them. But then we're in a subtropical climate, so as soon as it rains, they make themselves known. See, we're kind of changing little micro ecosystems here. This is good for mushroom hunting. And lo and behold, you see the bright yellow contrast here against the grass?
Yes, yes. Is that one?
It could be litter, but I think it's one.
Oh, let's see.
Let's go for it. Oh, it looks like more than one. That's the best.
Oh. Wow, you have good eyes.
I'm used to it. So I'll walk up to a patch, and this is a good looking patch. But a lot of times you'll come up to just half an acre where there's hundreds of thousands of mushrooms. You think you hit the jackpot. But for my purposes, they have to be in really nice condition.
Okay.
If they're eaten by bugs, if they're past maturity, their shelf life is drastically going to be cut. So I pick up the whole thing, I trim the stem bud off, and I chuck it in the basket. And then I just repeat.
Okay, so is this past maturity? Is that the same family? That's beautiful.
It is. It's the same mushroom. I'll grab it from the base here, pull it all the way up. Looks nice and clean. And also when you cut the stem butt there, nice solid flesh. A lot of the older ones, which we'll see plenty of today, have little holes from either rot or insects burrowing down into them. But yeah, this is great.
That's beautiful.
And I kind of field dress them as best I can. The cleaner you collect it, the cleaner it gets to the table for sale. So.
Okay. And could we just sit here and eat these? Or do they need to be cooked?
I would say they need to be cooked. Most mushroom varieties have a really rigid cell wall that can upset your stomach if you eat a lot of them when they're fresh. So even button mushrooms in the grocery store, they've had a chance to degrade. They're a little safer, but I don't recommend any raw mushrooms.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I know. Well, people do it and everybody's fine.
Yeah, but, I need to change my eating habits just a little there to be cautious. But,
no, they've degraded. They're not brand new.
Wow.
And there's also a big debate on whether or not you're supposed to pick them, like clip them from the ground and leave the stem bud intact.
Okay.
But the longest study existing right now for commercial mushroom pickers in the Pacific Northwest says it does not matter. They come back either way.
Okay. Now this is not the same as the flower on a plant, or it is?
Well, the mushroom is the seed-bearing body, so it's like the apple on the apple tree.
Okay.
The mushroom body that we're picking these from is most likely older than us. And so this bed of mycelium exists throughout the year, and all of this area floods annually. So, I mean, it get to 2 feet deep in water, and when their time comes, their season, chanterelles more on a calendar than most. They'll arise to send forth their spores, which is the seed of the mushroom.
Very neat.
It's cool. And mushrooms can produce hundreds and thousands of seeds apiece, so they're very good at what they do.
Wow. But it exists mostly underground, right?
The majority of the biomass of this mushroom, this is just the tip of the iceberg. The majority exist underground year-round. And this is just when we're lucky enough to see it fruiting.
That's fascinating. I know some of them have a really symbiotic relationship with everything around them. Are they all beneficial to the trees and to everything?
They are not. They're parasitic mushrooms. They're saprotropic mushrooms, just more opportunists that eat dead wood. But these are symbiotic. They exist in a symbiotic relationship with hardwood trees. And so if there weren't hardwood trees, there wouldn't be mushrooms. And if there weren't mushrooms, there wouldn't be trees because of this relationship.
Now, is it fair to say these are a fungus? Is that right?
These are a fungus. The mushroom is a fungus, but the fungus isn't necessarily a mushroom.
Okay.
You know, you can say this is an apple, right? But you can't say the apple tree is an apple.
Fair enough. Okay. Fascinating.
Very cool.
All right,
let's get thousands
collect
more.
These. Let's get thousands.
Yeah. And that field dressing is kind of important. It's really what separates commercial harvesters from just hobbyists. You know, it's how clean you can collect it and what condition you can collect it in.
Right.
And food storage. You know, as soon as you get these, they're going right to refrigeration, and they won't see the light of day until they get to a farmer's market or a chef's table.
I see. So keeping them in the dark helps to preserve them.
Yeah, it does. It's a little bit. I think it's more about refrigeration than degradation from light.
Okay.
But it's good to keep them dark and cool.
Fascinating. Let's see what else we can find.
All right. I think I see another one there. Usually if you see one, there's more, so it's worth going for it.
Let's go check that out then, yeah.
Let's watch for critters.
You know what I like about this? You're not actually doing any of the farming that creates these.
No, I'm totally just an opportunist taking advantage out here.
Oh, it's wonderful.
And I walk up and it was just a leaf. No, it's a huge patch of chanterelles. Look at there.
Oh, look at all of those.
The first one was a leaf, but the next one was a patch of chanterelles. It's been a great year for them. I just want to lay down and make a chanterelle angel.
That's the first I've ever heard that phrase.
And this is another reason why they can't be cultivated, but they're still viable for a commercial collection, is because they fruit so gregariously. You can find so many at once. You know, if we're wandering through and I'm just collecting every single edible I find, it wouldn't be worth it. You know, you have to have certain weight for it. Chefs don't want to buy mushrooms by the ounce or gram. They want to buy pounds of food to redeliver. So
understandable. And you do market at farmers markets and to chefs? Yeah,
in fact, I rely more on chefs for rent and things like that. The farmers market is great. In fact, it's gotten better lately. Just I have more of a variety from the new grow room. But chefs are the ones that have consistent orders. They have lots of people to feed. It's not just a tourist with a bed and breakfast for the night who wants to cook up a little quarter pound. You know, the chefs will buy 20, 30 pounds at a time.
Oh, outstanding.
Which is a full day of work, even when they're fruiting in such great numbers.
Absolutely.
And you can see, just as I mentioned with the last patch, you can look over and see that a lot of these are not going to be making it home with me.
Okay.
Well, let's see if I can find a bad one. Little holes on the top.
I see.
You can rip it down the center and see that that's been infested with bugs.
Oh, absolutely.
Which isn't necessarily bad for the camper or microphile that's just wanting to eat something.
Okay.
But for the chefs, they don't want to see bugs. And also for the shelf life, you don't want to see that bug activity. And plus it can get worse, even in the refrigerator. You put it in here, it's got a little rod in there.
I see.
2 or 3 days, more bugs are going to hatch and more problems are going to occur.
Okay.
So just putting this in the mix with the good ones will cause problems as well.
I see that.
Cross-contamination.
I see.
All right,
Very
let's collect some.
All right.
You need a pocket knife.
I should have brought my pocket knife. It is in the truck.
Well, let's just collect enough for you all to take home with you. I have maybe 40 pounds or so already.
Oh, wow.
So I'm good at the moment.
I'm not going to complain. I'm investigating now. I see the holes that you're talking about on this one. I thought it was perfect when I picked it up, and obviously it has insects. They'll break your heart. I'll tell you, the ground is just so strikingly different. The soil here, I mean, it's
This is some of the last old growth remaining. I mean, this is a virgin forest. It floods yearly, so it's never been good for commercial farming or anything like that. So we're lucky to see it.
It's beautiful, though. It's absolutely, as a gardener, I would look at this and say, what a fantastic place to grow. Look at the humus, the amount of organic matter in this is absolutely outstanding, and it's well aerated. It's almost springy. You know, it's got a nice smell to it.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful dark soil.
Oh, it smells fantastic. I love that smell.
In the mushroom world, we have a little, I don't know, colloquialism. Old growth loves new life, something like that.
Oh.
And so it's just, mushrooms love old virgin forest. And I think that just untampered with ground for years and years allows these sheets of mycelium to get miles wide, things like that.
That's beautiful. So how big, theoretically, could
Well,
this
the
get?
largest living organism on Earth is a body of mycelium for an armillaria species. These, most likely, it probably circles this live oak, something like that. But, I mean, theoretically, it could be everywhere we look and can see from here. So,
fascinating.
there's no way of knowing, but I am pretty confident that it's older than us.
Wow. Well, we are very young, right?
Yeah, we're so young.
Okay, let's do
Well,
that.
I eat mushrooms every day, and I'm 78 years old.
Oh! Very good. Can I use that line?
Yeah,
okay.
go for it.
All right, I'm going to use that line. Fascinating. Oh, I'm so excited.
I think a lot of these are done.
Yeah, they seem...
Yeah, see, I mean, you know, for you to take home, it's not like you get bugs or dirt with you, but why not get the best while we're out here?
I'm fascinated. I'm so fascinated. All right,
well, it might be decent.
Well, now I've mutilated it.
I don't care, I'm taking it.
All right.
All right, let's find more.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Katy Rogers. I hope you'll be right back after this message to join me.
Camping World of Valdosta, located in Lake Park, is your one-stop destination for all your camping needs. Stop by to see your dreams of quality time with your family become a reality. Whether it's tailgating with your air-conditioned camper, taking a trip to the mountains or beach with your family, or driving your motorhome to a faraway destination, Camping World has it all. Let us put you and your family in a camper for as little as $99 per month. And remember, when you buy a camper from Camping World of Valdosta, you receive a free Elite Good Sam membership, roadside assistance, and travel assist for 1 year.
Carter's Fried Chicken in Homerville has become the gold standard for fried chicken barbecue and catering. Carter's also offers a full menu of other tasty items and is open on Sunday. Thanks, Chad Brown, for making dining at Carter's a family tradition in Homerville.
So when I'm out hunting chanterelles, it's not like chanterelles are the only fungal activity I see. I see lots of mushrooms and I love it. And this one in particular is called a gilled boleta. Boletas typically do not have gills. They are porous mushrooms only.
Okay.
So this is a common name for this mushroom. It shares many microscopic characteristics with the boleta, but it is not. And it bruises. We're not going to be able to see this on camera because it takes about 20 minutes, but lots of mushrooms will change colors as they're damaged.
Okay.
So as I ruffled the gills here, it's allowing oxygen and oxidation to get some of the tissue of the mushroom. So in the course of the next 20-30 minutes, we'll look down and those yellow gills, where I touch them, will be blue.
Oh, fascinating.
And
So
you're holding another one of my favorites.
Oh, okay.
But go ahead.
These are gills. So is that a pore?
These are
pores?
gills. These are pores.
Okay.
And you can
Obvious difference.
see the spores are coming from between the gills here, known as lamella.
Okay.
And then here on the porous mushroom, you can look and see there's tiny little holes. And not to cheat, but I'll tear a little bit of it. And you can see that those little holes are actually the tips of tubes.
Oh, I
And
see
so
that.
they're little tubes, and they're not just dropping hundreds of spores, they're projecting them. Some of the highest G-forces on Earth occur at little tiny levels for mushrooms ejecting their spores.
Oh, how fascinating.
And this is a beautiful mushroom. It's also a really nice one because it's easy to identify. There's no lookalikes or, you know, potentially dangerous ones that look similar to it. It's known as Old Man of the Woods. It's a Strobilomyces species. And I like to dehydrate them and mix them into sea salt and make a really earthy salt, comparable to like a truffle salt or something.
Oh,
Just
very trendy right
maybe
now.
a step back from the truffle salt.
Okay.
But it's good.
That's fascinating.
It belongs in the basket.
It belongs in the basket.
But not the gilled boleta here.
No.
While it is beautiful and should be celebrated, I think it's mildly toxic.
Okay.
And if it isn't and I'm wrong, then it's not delicious. You can see some little green creeping in there.
Yeah, I can. It's starting to get discolored already. That's fascinating.
Some of these are instant. In fact, today we'll find a boleta where I can just touch it and it immediately turns bright blue.
Oh,
that should be our next spot of choice.
Okay, well, let's check that out.
All right, love
Thanks.
you. All right. Well, I can't pass by this super cool jelly fungus. It's a type of tremella. And unlike the other mushrooms that you can't eat raw, you can eat this one raw.
Okay.
And maybe it's not the most appetizing looking thing in the world, but it doesn't have that rigid cell wall. It's a jelly mushroom, and it feels as such, right?
It does.
And so while it looks vastly different from a toadstool or something like that, it still shares the same goal, and that's to spread the spores of the mushroom. And it's a saprotrobe eating this already dead wood.
Okay,
I think they're gorgeous. And there's a bright yellow version that's more common as an edible than this white. It's called witch's butter, the bright yellow. And it's some of the mushrooms, another easy to identify. If it were harder times, we'd eat some, but not today. And they just taste like water, but let's still not.
Yeah, okay. Well, they do. They put off a slime and they feel like kids.
There's a coral mushroom here that should be featured. Doesn't that look like something that would belong underwater rather than on the forest floor?
It does. And
if I touch the top of the... No, not now. But sometimes you can see a little cloud coming up as you disturb these, as it's releasing the spores off the tips of the corals here.
I see.
And I can't identify that one, so...
I would not have even noticed that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I was going to walk right past it as well. A big part of mushroom hunting is slowing down. You know, a lot of times I'll try to cover ground looking for the right habitat, but it really bodes well for me to stop from time to time and do a little parameter check and readjust my pattern recognition, because, you know, I could be trampling on snakes and mushrooms the whole time and not know.
Right. Oh, fascinating. Thanks.
Cool. All right, looky here. It's a species of Gymnopilus, which is a cool genus of mushrooms. They're very, very hardy. And they are one of the top spore producers, second only to oyster mushrooms, which we're going to see in my grow house. These produce more spores than most mushrooms, and they're bright orange. You can see I can probably get orange on my thumb as I mess with it. A lot of this genus is hallucinogenic. These are not, but they are all so bitter that they would really upset your stomach. Okay. So while it might be fun for recreational high school kids, they would throw up before they had any fun out of it.
I see. Fascinating. It's very pretty.
Yeah, I think they're beautiful mushrooms. Some of my favorite spore prints, which we can talk about, is when I collect the spore of the mushroom. I'm going to start with another one. So I'll take a mushroom and I'll separate the cap from the stem.
Okay.
And I will lay it gill side down on a piece of paper. And multicolored paper helps as well, because the goal here is to collect all the spores falling from underneath the mushroom on that piece of multicolored paper. And the color of the spore is the first identifying feature of mushrooms.
Fascinating.
I come out and I can name some genre of mushrooms. It's just from familiarity. When you get to a mushroom ID guide, usually you can't go by size or color or habitat. The first identifying feature to start the dichotomous key is what color spore print is it. Because different environmental conditions, different maturities can make mushrooms look vastly different. The gilled boleta that we saw earlier, it was yellow, but if we found it after heavy rain, we would have found a blue mushroom. So, you know, spore print is less tricky than other kind of macroscopic features.
That makes sense. Not something I'd ever thought about before. So is there some kind of indicator of a mushroom that would be toxic or not toxic?
I wish there was, but there's really not. You know, in the insect world and other parts, if it's brightly colored, it might be generally toxic. It's just about opposite with mushrooms, not always so. But every time I come up with a rule of thumb to make it easy, I find a contradiction within a month or two. So there are no easy ways to go about it.
So I'm just going to rely on you for my mushrooms.
Yeah, good. Everyone buy them from Swampy Appleseed, and don't worry about getting your own.
Excellent.
I see more chanterelles.
Oh!
Just past on the other side here. They are everywhere.
How exciting!
I know. Oh my gosh, let's get them.
Hi, I'm Katy Rogers. I hope you'll be right back after this message to join me.
Dairy Queen is a proud part of our local communities and is cheering our sports teams on to championship seasons. Drop by before and after the game to say hello to Mr. Ash and his entire crew and enjoy the full Dairy Queen menu, including our famous grilled burgers, artisan-style sandwiches, and chicken strips. Cool off with our renowned smoothies, slushies, malts, and iced coffees. Try our fabulous desserts and take an ice cream cake home for that special occasion, or just to treat the family. Dine in or take out at Dairy Queen locations in Homerville, Blackshear, Folkestone, and Fernandina Beach. See you at the DQ.
All right, looky here. There's always all kinds of variety when there's good mushroom seasons out, but it's nice to see the one we're after. Even though this is a good disheartening case where it's just glittering gold from afar and you get up close and the bugs would beat you to it.
Yeah, I see
But
that.
if you see, we can see them all on this grassy knoll we're on. So we can continue along the way, and some patches bound to be a little bit younger and better for us.
Wonderful.
Oh yeah. Even if you wander up and can pick one or two, it's okay. There's an orb weaver, banana spider, my least favorite.
Oh yeah?
And the most common. Yeah, see, it's getting questionable.
It is. Got a little bit in there.
We'll leave it for the sake of quality.
I feel like I'm going to recognize a chanterelle and a quality chanterelle by the end of the day.
Oh yeah, I think you've already got it, because it has lookalikes, but nothing, now that you've seen a chanterelle, nothing is going to stand out except a chanterelle.
I see.
And they're really liking this grassy area. It kind of dwindles. It looks like this patch is a little past prime. And you can see bugs beat you to them sometimes the very day that they appear. And these can mature over the course of 2 or 3 days to 2 or 3 weeks. It really depends on the relative humidity in the air.
Okay.
So sometimes after there was good rain here last night, maybe the fruits of that won't really be here until next week sometime.
Okay.
So I will definitely be back.
All right.
And to see younger ones here. Which I think
Smaller.
taste a little better.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's kind of a assumption. What is this? There's kind of an assumption in the produce world as well. You know, smaller, younger, more tender.
Yeah, I don't think it's too much different from the mushroom world.
Right.
The chanterelles are quite meaty. It looks like they go on and on in this habitat.
Oh my goodness!
So
Look
this is a
at all
great
of
place.
these.
If we were here to pick numbers, we'd be in luck. Maybe we wouldn't be. Yeah, we'll have to move to another patch.
All right.
Which is easy to do right now.
Gotcha.
Here's another edible.
What is that?
There's a green Rasula atroviritus. See this bug damage here.
I see.
It's the only green Rasula. There's lots of mushrooms in the genus that are mildly toxic. I don't think any severe, at least in our region. But this is the one that's edible, and it's easy to identify. It's also known as the quilted Rasula. Maybe we'll see a more mature one later on. They get a cool pattern on the cap there.
I see.
But
It's
it looks
also
like the
gilled.
bugs have beat us to it.
They have. Yep.
I should have brought my loop. It's nice to have a little magnification just to see. But it also slows you down.
I'll remember that. All right, thanks.
Cool. Oh, I'm melting.
Yeah, Georgia in July.
Yeah, I'd say chanterelles really begin in June and then can run all the way up to September, October.
Wow.
But it
That's
does
a long
dwindle. I mean, this
season.
is kind of the beginning, or the in-between of peak times here.
Okay.
I think more rainfall, we'll see other commercial amounts come up. But as for this particular flush, we weren't on time.
Nope, these have bugs. Oh, look at all these.
Yeah, you've got the eye for it now, huh?
Yeah.
They really appear. And especially in this tall grass.
Look at this slug.
Oh, slugs, yes.
Wow.
Slugs and spiders love mushrooms.
I see.
It's a good
So we're not
size
the
one.
only ones that eat these.
Oh no, I have a suspicion that pigs eat them as well.
Oh, yes. Do you see a lot of pigs when you're out foraging?
Yeah, I see a pig just about every day. The piglets are so adorable, but they're a little scary as well.
They do get
I've
rather
only
aggressive.
seen one sign of aggression ever, and I got too close to some piglets. These look higher quality.
This one's got a little damage already, though. Yep.
Oh, nice. There's a great one by your left boot there.
Oh! I missed it.
I was about to step on the love of my life.
All right. Can I tear it, or do you need to cut it?
No, you can tear it if you wish.
Okay.
It looks a little more professional if it's cut. Yeah, these are great. It's nice to lean over once and pick up 5 mushrooms in one haul.
Absolutely.
It's not always the case. When fall comes around, I'm looking for truffles and lion's mane and things like that. And it's more about covering ground than slowly scouring the forest floor.
I see.
So I look forward to chanterelle season every year.
Absolutely. Now, what will be the next mushroom that you forage?
Truffles, for sure. In fact, I've already found my first truffle of the year, but it was a little immature, and that was maybe 3 weeks ago. And so I'm thinking another 2 or 3 weeks and I'll begin.
Wow.
And truffle season is the best. We
Yes.
have tuber leone, the pecan truffle, and it's not the famous Italian white truffle that goes for $2,000 a pound, but it's still very good, and chefs really like it. It's a very pungent mushroom. It's known as the pecan truffle, and they go for $300 to $400 per pound. Which, even though it's not $2,000 a pound, it's definitely worth your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so I go out with my dog. This is her 3rd year at it, and I'm hoping the big year where she actually really starts helping me out. But I also have a little treasure map, just like my chanterelle spots. I'll go to pecan orchards. It's not too detailed to give it away. But when I find a truffle, it will recur at that same tree every year.
Right.
So I have a beautiful little map of my trees. So each year it's cumulative, which helps me train the dog and helps her get more familiar, and it gets more truffles to me.
That's wonderful.
I know, I'm very excited about
So
it.
is it a white truffle or a black truffle? What color?
It looks like a little potato, a tuber. It's similar to a burgundy truffle.
Okay.
They're usually white, black, and burgundy truffles, the lowest being the burgundy. But it really does stand alone. I haven't found a chef that says, oh, this is just like that. I mean, it is its own unique thing. Texture like a pecan, you know, silly enough, and then just the epitome of earthiness, you know.
Very
While
cool.
sometimes it might be mild, sometimes it might be very pungent, but even the mild ones are so persistent, you know. During truffle season,
Strong.
my dogs, my clothes, my truck, my refrigerator, everything
Yes.
reeks of truffles,
Yes.
and I love it.
Yes, wow, that's fascinating. So are these trees intentionally inoculated for the truffles, or is this something that's naturally occurring
This is
here?
something that's naturally occurring, but they have inoculated these trees by taking more or less a truffle slurry and dipping baby pecan seedlings into it. And more research has been done for a bigger, healthier pecan tree than for the fungus itself, because it's that symbiotic relationship.
Right.
And when I'm truffling, the first spots I'll lead my dog to are, you know, generally shadier areas, but bigger, healthier trees are more likely to have the truffles underneath them. It's a pretty
Fascinating.
visible difference. I mean, you know, you'll go around the bigger, fluffier trees, especially in fall when they start dropping their leaves. The ones that hold on to it longest a lot of times are the truffle trees.
Neat.
So you can really see the difference there.
So when you're in a pecan orchard, I noticed that some of my friends spray to keep the ground clear, so when they cultivate the nuts, and some of them don't. Does it matter when it comes to looking for the truffles?
I feel like the truffles exist almost no matter what the farmer does. If they change their managerial practices severely, the truffles may not come back.
Okay.
But it's kind of disheartening. Some of the best orchards I've been in, you know, I come back and, oh, look, here, farmer, look what all I found. And they sprayed something horrible 2 or 3 days
you
ago.
can't use it.
And I can't use it. It's the truffles will still occur, but they're famous for absorbing things. So,
Right.
you know, timic and atrazine, some of those things that are kind of on the way out anyway, the farmers aren't using as much.
Yeah.
But, you know, farmers a lot of times like, oh, it works, it's going out of business, so they'll just buy a couple of pallets of it kind
Right,
of deal.
right.
So
Yeah.
you have to have a very good relationship with the farmer, because I like to see exactly what they're spraying, if they're spraying anything, to see the schedule of when they're spraying, if they spray anything. But always I prefer a nice, irrigated, well-maintained orchard that does not spray, at least not any herbicide strips.
Right,
And they'll
right.
have to keep worms out of their leaves and things like that. But no, it is a big concern. In fact, it's probably my biggest inhibitor, my biggest slowdown,
see.
is them spraying horrible things on the ground.
Right.
You know, there's truffles on the ground when nuts are on the ground, so they stop spraying then. But truffle season starts months before that. So there's a couple of months where I have to miss out because they're just, you know, you see these black-brown strips of herbicide just
Right.
along the trees. So.
I know some orchards I'm going to want to forage now.
Oh, yeah, you
You've
stay
given me
away.
ideas.
Oh, here, we need to get some more of these.
Yeah, this one looks pretty. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, you got a good one. And when I'm collecting to eat, I don't mind a little bug action or dirt. It builds
I don't
character.
either. You don't have to be
Well,
that
you
picky
farm,
on my
you know.
account.
You know
yeah,
how it is.
I do.
You can't be too distant from where your food comes from, or you won't
Right.
eat any of it.
Well, I don't want to eat anything that an insect wouldn't eat.
Yeah,
that seems
this would be
counterintuitive
a good
to me.
rule of thumb.
Yeah.
I like that.
Thank you for watching CreekboxTV.